Good morning or afternoon. Afternoon where you are.
Morning where you are.
And there was just this quote from Dr. Andrew Newberg, words can change your brain, which I thought was quite cool. Um,
Yeah.
and it says, language shapes our behavior, and each word we use is imbued with multitudes of personal meaning. The right words spoken in the right way can bring us love, money, and respect, while the wrong words, or even the right words spoken in the wrong way, can lead a country to war. We must carefully orchestrate our speech if we want to achieve our goals and bring our dreams to fruition. And I just thought that that was quite a nice quote to
Wow.
intro this chat because it is about how words can impact your brain and your thoughts and your attitudes. Um, and the one that I know is your biggest weasel word is need. So let's maybe start with that one, and
Yes.
maybe you can give a bit of context about where this came from and what the words mean to you.
Yeah, so weasel words, I think the concept of calling them weasel words is credited to Dave Asprey, Mr. Bulletproof,
Okay,
uh,
yes.
amongst others, yeah. And when I first came across it, Dave had a relatively short list of weasel words: need, can't, bad, try. I think those were the ones that were in the original list. Um, th- there's, there's, there's a much longer list available now, which I think Dave has added kind of over time and so on. So words like helps, may, can, up to, almost, virtual, seems, like, as much as, and many.
Okay.
So Um, as I was going through the list, I was wondering to myself, well, I'm not sure why this word would be in there or that word, but then I could also almost immediately come up with examples where the use of those particular words drive me crazy.
Yeah.
So up to, how many times have you read a website where they say up to 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, what is
Yeah.
it then? Well, what are
Or
you
we
lying
or we
about? What are
can
you
up to
hiding?
10x your revenues or
Yes, correct.
yeah.
Almost. Almost is another one, which I think in depending on the context and the sentence that you use. So so I can see why uh, all these words make it to the list, and I'm sure that there are many others. Uh, need, as you quite rightly said, is the one that really stuck with me
Yeah.
because there's the difference in meaning between need and want,
Yeah.
mostly between need and want. Am I correct? Yes. So I challenge you to open your Twitter feed now and on the first page not see the word need at least 5 times.
Yeah.
Politicians love the word need.
I was about to say I feel like I hear it on the news a lot.
Yes.
Someone
Oh,
needs to
news.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Newscasters and politicians absolutely love the word need. And if we think about the correct definition of need is much narrower than, I don't know, we need to make sure that everyone is treated equally.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. And I think that that was the whole point about weasel words is if you have a if you have an understanding of the word, your brain will, even if you use it or somebody asks you to do something and use weasel words, your brain will differentiate between that.
Yeah.
If your mother said to you when you were little, you need to clean your room,
Yeah. And you go, why?
well, I'm perfectly fine
Yeah.
with living in this mess that I created, this comfortable mess that I created. So I don't need to do it. You must clean your room. So anyway, so I try to be bit more aware of when I use these words and and how I use them, and if they really mean what they meant to me.
Yeah.
Because the impact or the influence on yourself. If you get up in the morning and you say, I need to do whatever today,
Yeah.
do you think subconsciously you know that you're bullshitting yourself?
Probably.
Let me just check if probably is on the list.
It probably is. It almost
Correct.
certainly is on the list. With almost.
Yes, yes.
um, yes, it's it shows. I'm trying to avoid using weasel words in my response right now. I was about to say it kind of, or it seems to, or it it shows a lack of certainty in your speech almost. So there's an almost again, but it's
Yeah.
that you're not really sure of what you're saying. You're hedging your bets and you're allowing yourself to. It's almost like you're giving yourself a
Yes.
chance to not be correct in what you're saying. So there's no kind of conviction. I keep using them and it's driving me insane, but there's no conviction in what you're saying. Um, it's really interesting, and like you say, you hear it a lot with politicians, and you can almost pick it out that they are skirting around an issue and not saying what they really mean. And then while I'm talking now, I'm realizing that I'm doing it to avoid um, sounding like I know what I'm talking about convincingly,
Yeah.
because maybe I don't, and maybe people can challenge what I'm saying. So I'm leaving it open and not being certain about my words, which it's quite a difficult thing to realize about yourself as you.
Yeah, especially because it has become the norm in society. If you know, um, we picked on politicians and journalists and newscasters and that sort of thing for specifically using those words. And as you say, I I probably also use some of these
Probably.
words all of the time, probably. Um, although I'm trying to be aware of
Yeah.
when I use them, it's much easier when I write something to recognize them
Yes.
than when you're speaking. But you're 100% correct. It is often the hedging our bets.
Yeah.
I get, if I say almost, then, well, what is almost?
Yeah.
Is it? Um, but I definitely think that it has an impact and an influence on how you respond to certain things, even if it's not consciously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really terrible at this point with the word need. I have to,
Yes.
I really have to hold back to not correct or question the word um, when it's whether it's used in written or spoken format. And
Yeah.
as I say, at the same time, I'm not 100% sure that I don't use it incorrectly as well.
Yeah. But at least being aware of it gives you the opportunity to question yourself and figure out if you are using it correctly when you're using it. Um, in that Tony Robbins, which was not about weasel words, it was just about words in general, he talks about emotions that people feel and how there was a business meeting and there were three of them in the meeting, and he came out of the meeting. Well, there were three of them on their side, and they were in a meeting with someone else, and they came out not on top. The other team came out on top, and he said the three
Mm-hmm.
people that he was with, the one he left feeling frustrated, and he was pretty frustrated, and his colleague was angry and visibly angry and going red in the face. He was so angry. And the third colleague, when they said, "How did you feel that went?" he said, "Oh, I'm a bit peeved." And Tony Robbins says he was thinking about it. He's like, if I changed the emotion that I was feeling to peeved, how would that affect my whole experience of what just happened, because peeved feels like such a minor emotion. It's kind of
Mm,
comical. It's a word he wouldn't use very often. He said as soon as he even thinks of the word, he wants to laugh. So
yeah,
he said in the next situation where he was feeling a bit frustrated, he said to the person, I'm actually a bit peeved. And he said it totally took away like the heaviness of the environment and he felt lighter and he smiled when he said it. So it changed his whole
yeah.
experience from being really frustrated to just being a little bit peeved. And it's kind of funny. So I think that that's maybe something to also think about, is how we can just change. And he says, just think of one word that you use to show your emotions and think about how, usually a negative emotion, and think about a word you could use in place of that and how it would change how you feel about the situation. I thought that was pretty cool.
I'm going to steal peeved.
Yeah. I'm not
I'm,
angry, I'm not
I'm,
frustrated, I'm peeved.
yes,
Yeah.
because we default, I think, to things like frustrated. We
Yeah.
don't really want to say too often that we're angry.
Yeah.
So we, in my experience at least, frustrated. I use frustrated often.
Yeah. I think I do too.
Even even when I sit down and make notes to myself,
Yeah.
the word frustrated comes up often. I would have pay attention to that because I think even there, even if it's just notes to myself, maybe sometimes I don't want to either admit that I'm angry or, as you say, well, maybe frustrated is just the default that I go to. Maybe I'm just a little peeved.
Yeah, I quite like
That's a
that.
nice word.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it. Another one that came up when I was reading the Chimp Paradox is about should. So where you tell yourself, I should have done something today or I
Yeah,
should do something tomorrow, is it puts this pressure on you that it basically sounds like you're failing before you've even attempted the thing. And so that's one word that I've been very aware of since I read that book, and I'm trying to change to could. So I could do this thing, or I could have done something but I didn't. Not I should have, because that feels more final. Um, so I was just thinking about your need word, because that's the one word you're very focused on. Like maybe you just need to think about you need to. You want to think about one of the words that you use a lot as a weasel word in context. And for me, my one was think. I used to always say, I think. And obviously, I think because I'm the person speaking. So I don't need to always preface it with, I think maybe something, something, something. I should just say what I think without having to say, I think something. So, yeah, I think maybe we just need to think about one of the words that comes up a lot and think about how to change it.
you're 100% correct with
Yeah,
should.
yeah,
I was just checking through the list here and I didn't write it down, and I'm sure I just missed it because should, you gave a very good example of the use of should. I find that we say should when we want to give ourselves an easy out.
mm,
I should eat my vegetables today. But it also sounds okay if I don't.
yeah,
That's my interpretation of
yeah,
it. Where more specific and direct, I am going to,
yeah,
or I will do, etc., etc. Um, yeah, so the just the awareness of these words and how we use them to give ourselves um, some leeway and not commit to anything.
yeah,
Then hear other people use them and try and understand what they are trying to say to us.
yeah, or what they're not saying.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
More than often what they're not saying. Correct. I wasn't 100% sure. The one word that I couldn't find a direct connection with the weasel word is virtual.
virtual. Is that one of the
Yeah.
ones on Dave's list?
Yeah, that's the one on
Is it
what's
not
one of
like
the words.
virtually everyone does X, Y,
Yeah,
Z or something like that. So where it's giving like a
maybe.
almost everybody does X, Y, Z.
I was going to say
Yeah,
is
yeah,
virtually a substitute for almost when
yeah,
you think it sounds a little bit smarter or a
yeah.
bit more sure of the outcome. Um, Bad, I remember bad is we should try and should
And
you know,
try.
yeah, steer clear of negative words. So the context in which
Yes.
you use bad, I don't think it's something that I particularly use that often. Um, Try is definitely one that must be elevated on my list.
So obviously it's all contextual because
Yes,
yeah, there are cases where try is fine, but it's when I'll try to get this to you by Monday
correct,
is
correct.
maybe yeah. Um, you're not again. It's going back to the not having conviction or not committing to something. You're leaving the door open.
Yes,
Yeah, and allowing
most of the
yourself the opportunity to fail before you've even attempted it.
correct.
Yeah.
And it's become so ingrained into people that they do it without thinking that they're giving themselves an option
Yeah.
to not commit.
It
It's
is.
just become the way
Yeah.
that people speak.
So that is like you say, it's ingrained. It is really difficult. It's something that I don't think is an easy thing. We can't just say like, oh, get rid of the weasel words that you use and be more committed and have more conviction. Um, but it's definitely, I think, as we've mentioned a few times, it's just being aware of, especially words that you use often. Um, and the one that you've highlighted is need. I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need this from you. Telling someone you need something from them, it's usually you want something from them. You don't need it. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, I think that it comes down to the fact that words are very powerful, and the way we use words, and sometimes just changing some of the words we use and changing our speech can change our experiences. Um,
So I'll just end with my top three,
please,
which which I'm definitely going to just for myself, be more aware of.
yeah,
Need is obviously still number one.
always, and maybe replace it with
Can't,
something like want.
yeah. I think it's a very important distinction to make
Yeah,
between need and want. Need, want, or must.
yeah,
Um, so, need, try. Try is number two for me. And can't. Can't is my number three.
interesting.
How often do you hear people say, well, I can't do that, when what they really mean is I
I
don't
don't
want to
want
do
to.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like if someone asks you for a favor, oh no, I can't.
yes,
It's
correct.
often not can't, yeah. Because you're very capable of it.
Yeah,
Okay. Those are really good. Those are good ones to be aware of. And I think we should all introduce peeved as our frustrated emotion.
yes,
See how that changes how we feel.
peeved will feature for a while here on my desk in front of me until it has become more ingrained. Thank you
Cool.
for that.
Thank you. Chat soon.
Cheers.